you, Molly. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me at today's session. I believe this is my 5th regional counselor conference that I've attended. They're always in December, which is a nice way to kind of end the year. That's like usually the last conference or the big event that I seem to participate in annually. So thank you for having me. So this particular topic was suggested to me by the conference organizers. And I had asked them, I said, are you sure you want me to present on this? And they said, yes, we think you would be a wonderful fit for this. So I welcome, questions at the end of this presentation, or as Molly said, on the WUVA chat. I will not be talking for the full hour. I do want to leave some time for each of you to play around with some of the resources or the tools that I share with you today. And also, I just think that being a presenter on my own and just talking for one full hour is exhausting, especially in the world where we live in right now, where we're on Zoom all the time. And it's close to lunchtime, so I'm sure some of you are hungry if you haven't eaten already. So anyways, thanks again for joining me. So when I was approached to talk about career assessments and inventories, this is something that I would say I have about 9, 10, 11, about 11 years of experience with. My first exposure to career assessments and inventories was when I was a grad school student studying career counseling. And I had the opportunity to learn about various instruments, but also to practice using a variety of qualitative and quantitative career assessments at community colleges and at four-year institutions. So I will be going through today's agenda, which will include an introduction to what are career assessments, and then specifically the interest inventories, which are a branch within career assessments. When we talk about, looking at one's interests and values and skills and personalities and really pairing it with different industries or career options, it's not an easy task. It's not just something that is like a formula that you could just kind of connect, or it takes a lot of different ways of doing it. There's no one right way of doing it. And all of you serve different types of populations. Some of you might be in a high school setting, some of you might be in a community college setting, or even a different setting. So everything that I talk about today, just try to think about, who is your target audience? Who are the students that you might be serving, or community members that you might be serving? And how would some of these different tools work or maybe not work? And towards the end, there will be questions. So I don't want to waste anyone's time. I know this is the beginning of the session that starts for noon. So I'll just be honest that I'll be covering 3 specific instruments. And if you all are well versed and you're like, yeah, I don't want to waste my time on that, then feel free to, hop on to another session. So the 3 specific assessments that I'll be looking at today are the ONET Interest Profiler, the California Career Zone Interest Profiler, and then the Road Trip Nation roadmap interest questionnaire that they have on their site. So if you are, pretty well versed and very familiar with those 3, I would say, might be a better idea to, and I won't be offended, to attend a different session. However, if you do need some brushing up or you are new to these 3, then feel free to stay on. All right, so let's begin. So let's look at different career assessments and talk about, what is your exposure to career assessments and what are they? So career assessments are essentially tools. They aren't tests because there isn't a grade. There are no right or wrong answers. And, a lot of times we use the term career tests, which is not to say, you can't say that, but usually test has a negative connotation to it when a student first hears about it. And so I try to say a questionnaire or an assessment, or I don't even say quiz because quiz is very similar to tests, an inventory. So the language that we use when we are working with individuals, just to make the process welcoming and warm and easy and comfortable. I think that a lot of times when we look within ourselves and when any kind of activity, when it comes to self-awareness, when you're doing it for the first time, especially in your years when you're in middle school or high school and it's your first experience, it can be a little bit intimidating. And we want to take that off the plate and not make that experience something that students feel like they have to stress about. So if you can avoid using the term test, I would recommend that. Career assessments are basically tools that are designed to help individuals understand a variety of different personal attributes, how they impact their success and satisfaction with different career options and work environments. Now, career assessments can be qualitative, they can be quantitative. Qualitative career assessments tend to be ones that are more conversational. Sometimes there's narratives. There could be career maps, family genograms, stories. They could be questions where it could be an exercise where the counselor might ask a student a set of questions, and that the student can actually talk about along as they're writing these different answers down about themselves. And then quantitative career assessments tend to be those that have measures that look at data, and there might be more like validity and reliability and testing that's done. I know I'm not supposed to use the word test, but in this case I'll use it. Testing that's been done to actually look at various populations and study subjects who have answered these questions. And so those are different options that you have when it comes to choosing the type of career assessments. When it comes to which one is better, I would say ideally it's a combination of using both approaches. And it's really case-by-case situation depending on the population that you're serving. So I talked a little bit about validity and reliability. So many assessments, particularly those that are online these days, lack evidence. So when it comes to whether they are valid or not, I would say, you have to question it because we don't know based on, the data and the facts, the history behind it. So I would be very careful with some of those free tools that are available online. Typical evidence of validity is usually verified empirically. So, when you are using assessments, it's really important to be cautious and think about, what is the purpose of this particular assessment? Why are you using it? Who's your target audience? Some career assessments that are more popular, such as the Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI, or strong interest inventory, do cost money. And you, depending on your budget or where you work, that might be something that you feel you have to consider. And the career assessments that you may ideally want may not fit your budget, but are there similar tools or exercises that you can use that address those various topics, whether it's personality or values or skills or strengths, etc. Another part of this choosing a career assessment to consider is the amount of time. So nowadays, when we look at the difference between the previous generations and the Gen Zs, stereotypically, of course, but most people want quick answers, and our attention spans aren't the same as they used to be. We are multitasking a lot more these days, and based on student focus groups that I've participated in recently, a lot of the traditional assessments that we had used at career centers aren't ones that necessarily are ideal for all of our newer populations that we serve. They take longer. So for example, the Myers-Briggs and the strong interest inventory could take anywhere between a half an hour to an hour. That's just to take it. And then to come back and meet with a career counselor for another hour to go over the results and interpret the results, and then possibly even a follow-up appointment to check in and see, based on the results, is this something that in terms of goal setting, choosing classes, looking at, researching different career options, where they are in that process. And even though career development, career counseling is not something that we can rush, the information, how our students receive information, how they want the information, we do need to make it easier for them. And if it's going to be a lengthy process, they will not want to do it. So that is also something to consider. And the age of your population that you are serving. So are these middle school students? Are these high school students? Are these community college students? Are they non-traditional age students who are career changing, potentially, worked in a specific field for, 10, 15, 20 years, and now they're coming back and shifting gears and going in a different direction. A career assessment that might be geared more towards simpler conversations where an individual doesn't really have a lot of work experience at a middle school or high school level may not fit somebody who's potentially in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, who's had some work experience and self-knowledge of, what type of work environments, fit well with their skills and interests. So, using appropriate instruments based on the specific people that you are meeting with. So age is obviously something to consider based on life experiences and the language that's being used in some of these tools. And then special populations. So career exploration looks different for a first generation student, for a student who comes from a privileged background where parents have already attended college. It looks different for a student who is new to the country, where English might be, their second language. Even looking at, the LGBTQ plus community, sometimes, the questions that are asked, there might be stereotypes based on gender and work roles. So I would like to think that some of the different career assessments that are out there change with doing further research every couple of years, but we can't be sure unless we actually attend any of these specific trainings and we do further research on like the Mbti, the Strong, and some of the other tools that are out there. So I've had the privilege of getting certified with Mbti and the Strong and other assessments that I had learned about at the career or in my grad school program, but I wouldn't say that I still feel confident in terms of using all of those tools when I look at equity and all of the different populations that we serve at the community college where I work. So there are so many different career assessments out there, and these aren't even all of them that I put on the screen, but I put the top 3 that I think are the most commonly talked about. And I would say that the Myers-Briggs type indicator is probably the most historical in terms of what the instrument that has been used the most when we look at career counseling and the field of career development. It seems like MBTI naturally comes up quite a bit. MBTI is based on personalities in terms of the questions. It is translated in 16 different languages, so this instrument is used globally. And it is an instrument that I feel when we look at validity and reliability is, they definitely have taken the time to put that into consideration. However, I think that the MBTI is not for every age group. I think it does require a little bit more self-knowledge. I would not recommend it to a middle schooler, potentially high school, juniors, seniors, but even then, I think like college level and above is probably where I would say it's most comfortable in terms of the type of self-awareness that comes with the questions. Strong interest inventory is also popular, and this one is based on interest. So strong interest inventory is the realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional type of Holland codes that are used to recommend, based on which of those 6, the top 2 or 3 that you tend to gravitate towards. And interests, depending on who you speak to, in terms of self-awareness, some folks get exposed to interests early on. Now, if they're hobbies or, hobbies related interests, sometimes those can transfer into career related interests, but that's not always the case. But I think there's a little bit more knowledge of one's self like interests earlier than maybe the personality piece when it comes to the MBTI. So strong interest inventory, I would also recommend definitely in the later years of high school or definitely college level. Strengths Finder, this one has been very popular, I would say, especially in the corporate setting. And some 4-year colleges I've heard have used it as well. And then also, I haven't seen a lot of the community colleges or any that have really picked it up. I know that it's popular and very well liked and modern in terms of the language. Not, I think, at the middle school or high school level, definitely more older adult based on work experience and self-knowledge of work environments. Some of the other career assessments that I'm familiar with that I've learned about, but I don't necessarily use frequently, just based on, where I am in terms of my career and my role, but definitely worth considering are the values card sorts. So this is based on conversations about values. And again, this is not something that a lot of middle school, high school students may know about quite yet about themselves. But it doesn't hurt to expose students to like work values. And a lot of times you'll find lists of different values. You can incorporate your own kind of exercise or questionnaire and have conversations about, where do students gravitate towards. And then some of the other career assessments that I'm familiar with include elevations, skill scan, true colors, and the self-directed search, also known as the SDS. So I'm not going to spend too much time going through each of the others or the rest of the other assessments, but just wanted to let you know that there are so many different types of assessments. And as I'm looking at this, I know that there's also others that I've been exposed to, such as Focus 2, Career Beliefs Inventory. And I think that it's good to pick maybe one or two that you feel comfortable using that fits your own style as a counselor, rather than feeling like you have to learn and be an expert on all of these different career assessments. So as I mentioned earlier today, I was approached to speak a little bit specifically about interest inventories, which are a part of career assessments. It's a branch within. So again, career assessments can look at strengths, values, skills, personalities, interests. But today we're going to look specifically at interests and how that can perhaps expose a student to the different types of career opportunities that might align with some of those interests. So the three different tools that I'll be talking about today include the ONET Interest Profiler, California Career Zone, and Road Trip Nation. So career interests reflect stable preferences for certain work activities and work environments. And according to most popular theory of career interests, the Holland codes, they're known as the Risic model, which include the 6 areas: realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. So the first two tools that I'll be talking about, ONET Interest Profile and California Career Zone, do take the 6 different Holland codes into consideration. However, the last one is a little bit different in terms of how they approach interests. So what is the ONET Profiler? The ONET Profiler is a family, or interest profiler. The ONET Interest Profiler is a family of career assessment, career exploration tools that can help clients discover the different types of work activities and occupations that they would like and find exciting. And then the clients can identify and learn about broad interest areas most relevant to themselves. So now I'm going to show you a brief video that goes through and explains how to use the ONET Interest Profiler.
Mommy, I want to see Bummer.
Profiler. Let me show you how to use this tool, and then you can try it yourself. The ONET Interest Profiler can help you find out what your interests are and how they relate to the world of work. On each screen, click the Next button at the bottom to continue. You can use the Back button at the bottom to reread the instructions or change your answers. Here's how it works. The ONET Interest Profiler has 60 questions about work activities that some people do on their jobs. Read each question carefully and decide how you would feel about doing each type of work. Strongly dislike, dislike, unsure, like, or strongly like. As you answer the questions, try not to think about if you have enough education or training to do the work, or how much money you would make doing the work. Just think about whether you would like or dislike doing the work. This is not a test, and there are no wrong or right answers. The first item for you to think about is whether or not you would like to build kitchen cabinets. I have no idea how to build kitchen cabinets, but I am certain that I would not enjoy it. So I will click Strongly Dislike. The same goes for laying brick or tile. I do think it would be interesting to develop a new medicine, so I will click Like here. After I finish all of the items on this page, I will click Next at the bottom to continue through the next 4 pages of items. Here's a word of advice. Try not to click Unsure on any of the items because then your results won't be as strong. When I finish, there is an opportunity to go back and review my answers and make any changes if I want. On the next screen, I will see my Holland Code scores. Interests are grouped here into 6 categories: realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. One of my highest levels is in the investigative category. Let me see what that means. I'll click on the word investigative, and a new box will pop up explaining that people with investigative interests like work that has to do with ideas and thinking, rather than physical activity or leading people. They like searching for facts and figuring out problems. Well, and that certainly describes me. So I'll click Close, and if there are any other interests I want to know about, I can click on those too. Now I'll click Next. The next thing I need to think about is how much education or training I want. The Department of Labor has categorized this into 5 different job zones, with the lowest level being no experience or training, and the highest level being advanced experience and training. So I can think about where I am currently, or I can think about where I want to be if I'm interested in doing more training. If I want to know what medium job preparation is, I can click on that link, and in a new window it will pop up explaining what kinds of experience, training, and education are typically in Job Zone 3. And there are also some example occupations. I'll close this and move on by hitting Next. Here I'll select a job zone and click Next. This screen summarizes my choices, and I'll click Next to see my results. Here I have a list of results of occupations that match my interest profile. So people who have the similar interests that I do enjoy their jobs in these fields. If I'm not really sure that I like any of these, I can try looking in a different job zone. Here I want to see what would happen if I got a bachelor's degree. If I see a job that looks interesting, I can click on the title, and in a new window, mynextmove.org opens up with the full profile of this occupation, so I can learn more about it, including the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and what kind of education is needed and what the job outlook looks like. Now you know how to use the O-Net Interest Profiler.
Oh, I was muted, sorry. Let me use that.
And Mona's just going to get her presentation back up. Everybody hold tight.
Sorry about that. It kept going on to the next video, so I had to stop it. Thank you. So that was a brief overview of the O-Net Interest Profiler. And O-Net is based on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics national statistics, looking at careers that are showing, growth and the data based on national information. And then there's another tool that's used, as it's called the California Career Zone, that you might be familiar with, that a lot of high school counselors are familiar with, have used, and some of the community colleges have used as well. So I'm going to do a brief overview on that as well. In a minute, I'll go ahead and screen share. All right, so you can see the California Career Zone also has an interest profiler, and this is based on California information specifically for the state of California. And so you have an option to have a 30-minute mini version questionnaire or 60-minute, or sorry, I'm saying minutes, 30 question or 60 question questionnaires, depending on the amount of time that the person who's taking this is willing to spend. In terms of my personal preference, I just tend to like the latter 60 question one because I think that it allows for more opportunities for different types of questions to be asked. But if one is in a hurry or they would like to just get the information quickly, I would say the 30 question would be fine. And then you can see that the questions are kind of similar to the interest profiler with using strongly like, dislike, unsure, like, and strongly like, dislike, unsure, like, strongly like. And the instructions are very easy and clear to follow. It goes through saying, again, this is not a test, no right or wrong answers, to make the process a little bit easier for one, not stressful. And you could see the first question with the kitchen cabinets is very similar to the question that was asked on ONET, but I don't think all of the questions are exactly the same. And again, this is going to be based on California's data and statistics. And so the next tool that I'm going to show you is Road Trip Nation. And let me just go ahead and pull that one up. Okay, so this is Road Trip Nation, the roadmap. I really like it because it's got visuals and words that are easy and just fun. I think that their graphics are very modern and easy to follow. So let's just pretend to take this inventory. It says, what interests you the most? So as you can see, there are different options on the screen. So you can choose a couple. Let's start with art. And let's combine it with music. Okay, what lights you up at your core? So you can see that there are different examples: accomplishing goals, being creative, being physically active, building things, communicating, sharing stories, helping people. So there's a lot of different ones. I'm just going to pick being creative. So when you look at the three different interests between art, music, and being creative, these are some examples that come up on top careers based on your roadmap. And so it starts with musicians, singers, art, drama, professors, physical therapists. And then with art and being creative, there are examples of art directors, interior designers, etc. And there are even more careers listed. Obviously, we know that this doesn't include every career out there, but what I like is that it has information about the job growth, if it's declining, if it's increasing, if it's pretty steady. I also like the fact that it allows for one to click on, for example, the actual career title and find examples of stories of individuals who work in that specific field, along with an overview of the salary, the level of education that's needed, information about what writers do, other titles that writers may hold, and then to get an overview of the typical day in the life of an individual who works in this field. Now, a lot of times as career counselors, we tell our students to do informational interviews, basically to approach an individual who's working in this field and to learn more about this particular occupation. I think that that's a great tool to use. Informational interviews are extremely valuable, but for students who might be limited in terms of time, or just right now with the pandemic, I know that it's not easy to go, have a coffee with someone or go to someone's office and job shadow. But actually watching a video of these individuals, of leaders, examples from, what's available on Road Trip Nation, you have access to all of these different career stories of people who are actually in these roles, using skill sets and interests that are similar to what you choose. So I love this tool, and it's updated regularly with new videos. I would encourage you, if you have not checked out Road Trip Nation, to do so. They have a lot of wonderful, free, accessible information. PBS is the sponsor for Road Trip Nation, and they have film. So they have actual videos of different stories that target specific populations, where the green van goes across the country, and they stop and basically interview people in these different careers. So whether you are working with students at like the high school or the college level, I would say that this is something that you definitely should add to your toolkit for sure. And now I'm going to go back to my presentation. And thank you for your patience with my screen sharing, lack of practice, I should say. Let's go back to my presentation. Okay, so we talked a little bit about California Career Zone. Again, that's an interest profiler, just like the ONET interest profiler, that helps you decide what kinds of occupations and jobs might be ones that align well with your interest. And then the screen seems to be frozen. Oh, there we go. Road Trip Nation. So that was the one, last tool that I just showed you. It's quick and easy. It helps you match some of your interests. It's visually attractive, so I think it makes it fun and connects it to videos of people in the day in the life of various careers that align with your interests. And then going back to the topic of career assessments and specifically interest inventories, this information, you cannot use it alone when it comes to deciding, what type of major or careers you might be interested in the future. It definitely takes time, but you can't rely. And self-awareness can be objective too. So, how one knows themselves when they're, a junior and senior in high school versus how they would describe their interests and personality and values, those can evolve as they get older. And so I would say, along with career assessments and interest inventories, even though these are great conversations to help with dialogue in terms of, how one goes about their career exploration journey, I would highly recommend that you help students learn also about the value of informational interviews and job shadowing and getting work experience. This could include volunteer work. This could include internships. This could include part-time work. And, there's value that comes with experience in retail or food service. And a lot of times students are, they kind of say, oh, I've just worked at, McDonald's, or I just worked at, CVS, or whatever the retail or food service place might be. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have these wonderful skill sets that are going to one day, evolve and help transfer over to another work setting in the future. And so helping students kind of navigate along with these career assessments and tools, this is just one piece. And no instrument is going to know you better than you yourself. But in this learning about yourself journey, you have to talk to different types of people, and you have to try out different things, hands-on experience. This is how you're really going to learn about yourself. And then you combine it with some of the information when it comes to the labor market data. How much does this, career allow you to make? How fast is it growing? What do I study to go into this type of career? What are some clubs or organizations that might help me connect with employers or other individual students who are also interested in a similar path. So I would say that, career assessments and interest inventories are beneficial to a certain degree, but definitely when you take it, into everything into consideration, just know that it's just one part. And if you have any questions and follow-up items based on, that you might think about even after the chat today, feel free to reach me. My full name is Mona Patel, but you can reach me at mpatel@sdccd.edu. I work at Miramar College, and I oversee the Career Center, and I'm, pretty well versed in career development, career counseling, even though I don't do it day to day as much as I used to before, but I would love to share my ideas. So thank you.